Showtime. Dynamite download.
Dynamite download, your home for all positive coverage with all elite wrestling.
You guys, positive energy.
This reality, like, it is me. Like,
this is what pro wrestling's supposed to feel like.
You got like these creepy ass dudes
saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm gonna have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down like wrestling like he does.
I said, Mariah May said boom.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
That you need to be careful in the locker room.
I definitely think that women's wrestling has been elevated.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah,
man. Raw horse.
Raw horse?
Oh my god!
Amazing. I had to smack him around a few times to fully gain his respect.
Versus Brian Keith match.
Awesome.
This podcast is, quite frankly, the drizzling shit, if I'm being quite honest.
Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
What is up, everyone?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Mic working, camera. All right, I'm in good shape here.
Wait, I gotta. I just thought about that as we were doing that intro. I gotta change my hats really quick.
Yes, you do.
The final week, the final push.
Whoa.
Christmas is less than a week away, so I gotta be a little more festive. We got our festive background. So you got your festive red shirt on there. The old Saint Nick red shirt there. How's it going, bud?
It's going well. I apologize for the delay of starting. I was running a little bit late on the Mission Pro Spotlight. The girls over there did a special birthday segment at the very end. We had TK Trinidad, who's awesome. She's been in sports media for decades, but she's part of Women's Wrestling Talk on YouTube. Awesome interview. Great insights into women's wrestling. We talked about the AEW women's division. You definitely want to check out that segment because she brought up some really valid points about and comparing it to other women's divisions as well. But then at the end, right when I thought we were signing off, they had a little birthday surprise for me, and it was really heartwarming. But then I figured I could just quickly seamlessly slide over to Dynamite Download, and then my camera was not working out. It was like Windows Update or something, and it just wouldn't translate to this show. Oh, it was frustrating. So I'm sitting there scrambling, trying to figure out what was wrong, and I finally got it to work. I had to go in Windows and I had to manually select camera. Nightmare, but I'm here. I'm awesome. I'm here. I'm on the Dynamite Download with the crew. Touch tips. Oh!
Just announced for the Jericho Cruise too today.
Yes.
The MXM, the lineup is starting to get announced every single day, and it sounds like a blast. And I mean, we talked to Marco Stunt last week about his experience on the Jericho Cruise, and definitely a Dynamite Download bucket list thing we want to do. I can't wait to do that one time, and the roster is looking awesome. Our Thunder Rosa is going to be on there, the Outrunners, MXM. I mean, it's just beginning. The tip is just being shown of all the talent that's going to be on there. But yes, happy birthday, Mind. Happy belated birthday. Cheers to that. Thank you all for joining us tonight for episode 160. The road to the Holiday Bash, the road to Hammerstein, the road to World's End. I mean, a lot is happening in the landscape of AEW over the next, I would say, what do we got? 9 days. So 28, yes. The 28th is World's End, and 9 days of jam-packed shows, ending the Continental Classic, seeing what's going to happen at World's End. World's End's card is looking awesome. I mean, loving the card shaping out so far.
I'd say I'm 90% of the card I'm really excited about. 90%. There is one match but we kind of know. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, but I'm real excited. And I'm excited to talk about last night as well. I know we're gonna get to it. We had a match of the year contender, I think, last night.
There was a lot of hype on that one, and I mean, we can kick off our show with that after we do our typical see where we're standing at our draft season 4, which just hit the music.
Look who's still at the top of the mountain here at 45 points. But really, the story is not the top. The story is second, the battle for second place here. Brian and SPD, 36 points. Look at that.
We're not going out without a fight, but mathematically, it's all yours, mind. You've claimed the championship. Mathematically, there's no one's going to catch you, no matter what happens, unless there's some 25-man match where none of your guys are there. And I mean, I would have put it past TK there. You know.
Hey,
sure about that? You sure about that?
Yeah.
But you know, mathematically, I mean, half my team is officially not even going to be wrestling until after the new year. So, you know, I'm going to have like 1 or 2 points trickling there. But it was a fight for sure. And, you know, having 9 teams is definitely a different wrench to throw in there. And it's a different approach you need to go. And so I'm excited to see the final standings. You know, it was a battle for sure. You know, we're getting closer. But then going into the next season's draft, you know, what the way I'm going to, you know, strategize. And, you know, looking, it's almost like if you had your rollover team, like things would be all different because, you know, TK has even said it. And typically, you know, start of a year, you're going to have almost all new storylines. And, you know, now FTR is going to be back. Maybe Young Bucks will be back. You know, other injury prone people, Copeland, Eddie Kingston, you know, all these like heavy hitters could be the mainstays that we are having in the typical Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia factions. So, you know, it's seasons.
Yep. And I know Full Tilt Deb is loving the fact that Kenny Omega is returning after World's End, or if not on World's End. You know, Kenny Omega was one of her hot prospects. But yeah, everything's gonna reboot, everything's gonna restart. I gotta be honest with you, I took some chances. I was glad I got Orange Cassidy, but if you look at, you know, the frequency, Full Tilt Dev giving me the business here. But
the shoe get thrown in from off screen.
Yeah,
where's the shoe?
She's gonna throw the shoe at me here in a second. I will say this: gotta give props to Steven.
You are
moving on up like the Jeffersons. He's made it to the left side of the board, pushing Full Tilt Deb to the right side of the board. Hey, Steven with 31. Not happy about it, are you, Full Tilt Deb? What are you gonna do? Yeah, what are you gonna do? All right. Well, the draft. We're gonna have the draft after the new year, and you know, we might make some changes. Let us know in the chat what do you think? Who was the MVP? And who do you think was a big bust in this thing? I feel like, you know, Orange Cassidy is kind of that blue chipper that got me a lot of points. But Mark Quinn delivered strong for me as well. Now, keep in mind, Top Flight has had several matches that they've lost.
Yeah.
So I didn't get many points for there. Brian, of course, Claudio was a good workhorse. Brody King, Isaiah Cassidy was awesome. Look at Brent. I mean, of course, Brent gets Bryan Danielson when Bryan Danielson retires. I
almost picked him.
But I would have thought that Thunder Rosa would have had more reps. SBD, you know, you're at the top because I think Kyle Fletcher and Ricochet,
my bottom row never wrestled once. Well, at least in mine. And then, you know, I went in the Mind Runner idea of the tag teams.
Yep.
FTD, you know, if Hologram didn't get injured, I think she would have had a lot of points for that as well. Probably another plus 5 or 6 points for sure.
And where is Roosh? You know,
Roosh Julia Hart is returning now. So, I mean, if Hologram and Julia Hart return, I mean, those are key people there. And then, you know, Steven with Daniel Garcia pickup, the Okada in the Classic, and then Christian Cage being featured a lot. I mean, it's, you know, we need to do, you know, moving forward, the +3 earlier in the we're going to adjust our roster sizes and do the +3 a little bit earlier so we have more time to kind of have that bonus picks right there as well. But
I agree. I love that idea.
We'll be brainstorming. We're going to be talking that soon after the new year, because I want to definitely get that draft on the books within the first week or two of January. And so he can, be talking about it and fighting for the battle of season 5 for sure. But one thing before we dive into the show, I want to mention something. You brought it to attention. This was going to be a little bit later on the show. We have a new thing I'm going to call DD3. I'm going to ask Mindrunner quick questions and get his take on them. He's going to ask me 3 quick questions and get my take on them, whether it be a hot topic booking, a certain wrestler, just what his favorite food is, whatever it may be. Almost like a Fast 5, but this is the DD3. But one of my questions was going to be this, but I'm going to pivot. But I want to bring up Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
The fact that they announced him and had to give him a package, I think is awesome. I think that is definitely needle moving. There's no way he's coming back as a heel. I mean, Kenny Omega is definitely needed to be the savior of AEW in many levels. Not necessarily if he's going up over and for the Death Riders, which I would love to see him be inserted into that right away. But Kenny Omega is coming back to AEW healthy and hopefully healthy and stronger than ever. And I hope he's going to be, the one that is able to conquer all and regain. And I hope he is the next 2-time champ. Mox is already a 2-time champ. And I would love to see Kenny Omega, if this is kind of one of his last full-time pushes, whatever. But my question with the DD3 was going to be is, do you think we're going to see Kenny Omega at World's End?
Possibly. I would have said no until they had that promo video. When they made that promo video, that's when I said, okay, they want to remind you of him, which to me, I kind of feel like that wasn't even needed. You don't the only thing I think that was designed to was to try to generate some hype for World's End buying the pay-per-view. Maybe it's also to generate some hype. Of course, when we go into January, it's going to be a whole new media landscape with the Max simulcast streaming. They're already building up the Fight for the Fallen with FTR and Arlington and everything. We'll talk about their promo here in a little bit. But yes, I do think I think we're going to see him. I would have liked for this to be much more of a I feel like what would have been cool is if and I don't think Moxley's crew is done, but it would be cool for Moxley's crew to just take out everybody and Moxley kind of be like the Thanos of AEW, where he's not taking down everybody and it just seems like they're dominating. Like we said before last week, have a few more people like Jack Perry join them, what have you. And then Kenny becomes like the Captain America kind of role, or they stand with him, and then everybody comes back. Like Samoa Joe comes back, and like Wardlow, and bring all these people back that just stand against Moxley, and you're gonna have this war. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. I don't think this is TK booking so much as I think Moxley is booking this. And I think Kenny Omega is the guy that's going to come back. Oh, yeah, Courtney thinks it's Shane O'Mac. I think we're done with the Shane O'Mac rumors at this point. I think we're
funny
done
we
with
haven't
that.
talked about that in a while.
Yeah, but I do think I think there will be more people added to Moxley's thing. But yes, the quick answer is Kenny Omega. I think I'm going to say he does show up because at World's End. If anything, just to kind of make an appearance that he's back and to kind of change the direction. And he could be that, like Steven says, we might see the Bucks kind of realize the error of their ways and come back, and we might see something. Because Hanger is already, and we're going to talk about that match tonight, but Hanger's starting to get babyface vibes again. He's still that deranged, angry, out of his mind guy, but he was kind of getting some positive vibes from that amazing crowd. By the way, what a crowd at Dynamite last night. I mean, and I know, and we talked about this before on our group chat about, we're starting to see the genius of going to slightly smaller venues. They're smaller but louder. And, this was, and I think that was the lesson learned when they were in Wales and you had a smaller venue, but it was the acoustics were incredible. I felt like last night there was such a great it was such a great atmosphere. There was such great enthusiasm for the matches, especially even that when Swerve was on the video screen, the pop, like you couldn't even hear them talking as loud as they were. But yeah, definitely with the 3-on-3, you could hear the crowd kind of giving babyface vibes to Hanger there a little bit. Yeah, I agree with Squidward, with Giga Chad Squidward right there, that Kenny G.D. Omega returns, and I can't wait. I love it. I think, are you muted, buddy?
There?
Yep, now we got you.
I said, selfishly, I would love to have Kenny Omega return at World's End. Definitely, obviously, I missed him, and he's one of my favorites. However, I still think, like, obviously Mox is going to win, maybe another addition to the Death Riders, and he still could return. I think it would just create such a huge buzz in the air. But the fight for the Fallen quickly after that, you already have people, targets on the back of the Death Riders with FTR and Copeland or other people. So, like, that's where I want to see them lose the trios titles. But I want that all to be that. That's all feel good stuff. Kenny Omega return, give us a teaser. He doesn't have to fight. He could just, music hit, get the pop, stare down Moxley, and then roll the credits. And I think that would be such a good way to end World's End, other than Moxley maybe stealing a win or a typical Death Riders, the way that they've ended a lot of the last few shows and pay-per-views in kind of a sour note, which I'm all for as well. I think they need still a heavy push with the Death Riders. They can't crumble this quick. So that being said, like, since we're talking about the Death Riders, let's just quickly talk about the main event, because there are some awesome matches all night long, and I definitely want to spend some time on a lot of that. But that main event was the trios main event. The part of almost all of the Death Riders versus the three guys that are battling Moxley at World's End main event. And I thought this was a great go home match leading into the main event. You want to have the turmoil with the good guys, and then you want Mox to have that target on his back. But like you said earlier, like, I do like the way Hangman is, I'm starting to become more and more a fan of this deranged lunatic Hangman, but I still don't see him yet as like babyface material yet. And that's especially in this match, that's what you need, first of all. But I feel like they're just going to resurface that Jay White feud with Hangman, which I still enjoy, and I think they'll have some meat on the bones. But I don't know how this match was going to go with the main event in World's End. But the way this ended, I was happy the way it ended. And I love the way the show started with the promo. And Jay White was doing an awesome job with the promo. And then I loved it. He's like, we're all wearing black. We're going to match. And so it just showed that the three different sides of these three guys that are in the main event with Moxley very well at the beginning of the show. And then it played out throughout the match and throughout the end of the night of Dynamite. And I was shocked. I was like, when I see Yuta, I think, oh, all right, he's getting the pin, victory for the good guys. But it didn't happen.
Nope. And again, this is, I've heard some of the gripes about this whole storyline, and I have a love-hate relationship with the Wrestling Observer. I do think Brian Alvarez has a lot of good insights, and I do agree with a lot of the stuff he says. I just don't have the negativity that goes with it sometimes. I understand that. I don't think anybody really believes any of the other three guys are going to take the belt off of Moxley at this pay-per-view. But I will say this. I think that I love the way they've positioned Jay White that he's now in this title picture. They've kind of elevated him to a point where he's at least now going into 2025. These three guys, Hanger's already been champion. But going into 2025, these three guys are going to be in our minds, as well as Swerve and a few others, that these are going to be future champions. I predict, bold prediction, I think in 2025 we are going to see Jay White as champion. I think it'll probably
love it.
I think it'll be towards the latter. I think it'll be closer to fall of next year. But I think we're going to see a Jay White barring injury. We will see a Jay White championship at some point. And I do think that's great. It's sad that he doesn't have the Bang Bang Gang with him. But I think that the critics of this storyline are this is a setup for Revolution. I think that what's going on here is and like you said, TK likes to kind of restart at the beginning of the year and what have you. I think there's what's going on with this whole storyline is there's the Moxley NWO, if you will, and then there's the metamorphosis that's going on with these three. If you look at these three on the right individually and how their characters are evolving, Orange Cassidy's becoming a much, I don't want to say badass, but because that's not necessarily, I don't think badass and Orange Cassidy are in the same sentence, but I think
he's like lamb into a fish.
They're giving him a harder edge. They're giving him a little bit of an edge now, where before he was like a pure comedy wrestler. And I told you about, and I said the thing about Jay White being now seen as title picture, and Hanger is going through that he's coming away from the crazy. He's still going to be the crazy Hangman character, but they're showing that he's an anti-hero. He could be just as good against a heel as he is a face. But
right.
I think that this is more designed to evolve them as well as continue to perpetuate the story that Mox is trying to do. And that's what Mox really, there's a little bit of shoot. And I think what Mox's agenda is here, that he's trying to step up to make the rest of the roster step up. And that's what, and those that are stepping up are getting the spotlight. We're going to talk about a dude that really stepped up last night here in a little bit, but I think that's where we're heading. I don't think Moxley loses the title. I will be very surprised if Moxley doesn't walk out as champion at World's End. However, I think it's going to be an incredible match. And I think from a match in a vacuum, it's going to be incredible.
So if Moxley wins, that means I get 3 points, right? Because he beat 3 guys. Wink, wink.
I don't. Sure.
No, I'm just kidding. That's I love what you said about Jay White, and I totally agree, man. I think it's great to see him in this title picture, in this title push alone, even though I highly enjoyed him being the leader of the Bang Bang Gang with his crew as this dominant main event guy. So you nailing it with Jay White. I think this is definitely one of the better sides of what we've been seeing out of him. And I think the Bang Bang Gang makes him stronger, and he's doing all this great stuff alone right now. And so I think it's going to even get better when the Bang Bang Gang comes and helps support him as well. Now, after this match, I don't know where we'll go, but I would love if a dream ending for World's End was just what we talked about. Kenny Omega staring down Mox, challenging him, or at least planting those seeds for Kenny Omega to be back. I mean, so they have Fight for the Fallen on the 1st, and then the next Dynamite is the 8th. Kenny's match is the weekend after Fight for Fallen, so the earliest we'd see him on Dynamite would be the 8th, essentially, unless he does show up on the 1st and goes to Japan. I don't know, it'd be a busy week for him. But Kenny, if he's down for it, I'm sure whatever's best for the company.
You know what? I'm going to rescind my prediction of him showing up at World's End. And the reason for it is I think he's really going to hold off on his quote unquote debut until he does Japan, because I think he's really trying to make that special. And so I see Kenny waiting until he shows up at Japan to make that special. Then after that match, it's fair game. Then I think you expect to see Kenny show up after that. Plus, that's good because we need some more. There needs to be some more peril before Kenny comes in to save the day. It's like Lex Luthor hasn't destroyed the dam yet. It's time before you need to have enough crap going on before Superman comes in. I'm mixing my comic book here, DC and Marvel, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Well, I want to let you have the reins of this one. The women's championship match that kicked off the show. Anna Jay is not the new champion, which I think was the right decision for sure. Mercedes Monae retaining against Anna Jay, who they've been building up like crazy over the last few months. And we've spoken highly of her improvements in the ring and overall. But still, I think this is a great litmus test for her. Great learning moment to be paired with this top veteran with Mercedes in the biz and in AEW. And I think it only benefited her like tenfold of being able to have this spotlight. But still, there's still a long way to go with her. Future champ, possibly. I could see it. Right now, I don't think it's a time. Nothing against her, or anything, but I think she still needs a little bit of work, which is okay. That's okay. Not everyone is there at that moment, and you could see the clear difference. Now, Chris Statlander, hanging in the wings and still kind of teasing almost a rematch, wanting a rematch. Now that I could see running back after that performance we saw at the pay-per-view in that match, I could definitely see Statlander dethroning Mercedes. Now it could be a total really crappy way to start and end the year for her to lose the TBS and the New Japan Women's World Championship belt, because she's got 2 title matches or 1 title match coming up, potentially 2 with the TBS one, with the teasing that we're going to get that we've been getting with Statlander and Mercedes with the rematch. But how do you think this one ended, and are you happy with the way they booked it?
Okay. I'm very passionate about women's wrestling. You know this fact. Everybody knows this. Mission Pro Spotlight. We talk about this. By the way, please go check out our interview, our chat with it wasn't even interviews, our chat with TK Trinidad, because we talk about the AEW women's division. The Statlander versus Mercedes Monae match they had was Mercedes Monae's best match in AEW, and possibly an all-timer for Mercedes Monae / Sasha Banks. I think the problem that first of all, Mercedes works much better as a heel. When her CEO chants, we start chanting, instead of CEO, we go stinky ho, stinky ho, stinky ho. And we'll probably try to get that when they come to Norfolk. The issue with Mercedes Monae is not Mercedes, because when she has like Statlander and a much more improved Anna Jay, I agree, she's not there yet, but the Anna Jay we're seeing now is not the Anna Jay we saw a year ago. And I think we're starting to see what Brody Lee saw in her. And I think she's going to continue to develop. But the problem I'm having, first of all, is there seems to be a lack of attention or direction, or almost like there's nobody in the cockpit flying the plane. That we're repeating matches that she's already had. There was no, I had the only slightest bit of doubt that Mercedes was going to retain us, and I knew that she wasn't going to retain when they announced that she's going to be going up against Mina for like a title versus title thing. It's like, well, you can't take the title off of her and then have her go and face Mina for it.
Right.
But I also, Statlander, which is great. Again, they're going to try to run back another great match, but Mercedes needs newer, and she needs more of a threat opponent. And the problem is AEW hasn't taken the time to build up credible opponents in storyline. They're there. There's so many opportunities that you could do. There's new, Penelope Ford has returned. Jamie Hayter has returned. Toni Storm is back to her rock star persona. There's so many opportunities with storyline that they could be doing, and it just seems directionless. And I feel like I almost feel like it's a been there, done that. If she's going to face Statlander again, she's going to just continue to hold on to this TBS title. Julia Hart has come back. There's so many people that can come back. Now, with AEW, it's always wait and see for me, because by Revolution, it could be cooking with grease lightning. And I don't want to compare the women's division to NXT. That's unfair. I don't want to compare it to WWE or TNA. But in a vacuum, because even if you compare it to Ring of Honor's women's divisions is great. The storylines are great and compelling. In a vacuum, AEW women's division doesn't have a talent problem. It has a direction problem, and it needs to be managed. And it needs to be managed because they're too good. There's too much talent sitting there that we should be able to have not just the title storylines, but the storyline with, you could say, well, hey, Jamie Hayter and Julia Hart. Yeah, but okay, that's it. There's what's going on. Why is Julia Hart going after Jamie Hayter? What's the story with that? There needs to be more going on. I don't think it's now. One thing I would love is what Steven says in here. Mm-hmm. And here's I'm going to add to this. If I was Tony Khan, what I would do is have Billy Starks defeat Athena and become the champion. And then Athena come to Dynamite and Collision and start being an AEW, but also give Athena booking power. Have Athena be in charge of booking because she arguably carried the Ring of Honor brand, let alone the women's division Ring of Honor, on her back for years. And so I think you bring in Athena and you let her book. Now, Athena's not going to book herself to win necessarily. She might, but I think Athena is one of those legit threats. I mean, if Athena showed up to challenge Mercedes Monae for the TBS title, I think that would generate a lot of interest in the women's division.
I think so too. Definitely. And I also wonder with Athena, because she's been the backbone cornerstone of that ROH division, do you think she kind of holds that true to her chest if there is, let's say, a TV deal on the line? Don't you think she'd want to be the face of that or to start that? So let's just say in a perfect world, like everything's just business as usual. Yes, I could see the jump. But if there is a TV deal and a streaming thing with Ring of Honor, I would want her to spearhead that. I would want her to continue to spearhead that because of the matches she is and the way she's been able to, be that cornerstone of Ring of Honor. Now, in the comments as well, I think Julia Hart coming back after her TBS title would be a nice feud after she's done with Jamie Hayter with Mercedes Monae. But you could do one of those kind of segue things where, let's just say, Mercedes loses the title to Stat, hopefully in a clean way, because I think that really would be a better way, because Statlander then would have beat Jade and Mercedes for the belt, and those are two awesome opponents to have victories over. And then or you could do the Camille, if Camille is still in the company, Camille costing Mercedes that, and then have that a feud right now until Camille and Mercedes have a feud until Julia is done with Jamie, and then Julia, I don't know. So there's a lot of different possibilities, which is great to be able to have that.
I know we got to move on, but I want to jump in on a couple things. One, really quick, I've heard mixed shoot stories about what's going on with Camille. There's some that say something went bad between them backstage, and then there's shoot stories that there's nothing wrong backstage. That they're actually, it's fine. It's just that Camille needed to go do press and do some stuff with her movie that's coming out. She played a wrestler in a movie that's coming out. She had to go do some press. I don't know what to believe. The dirt sheets are always crazy. The dirt sheets are a liar.
They're kind of fun to listen to, but also at the same time, you got to take them for a grain of salt. Yeah. Like really, like there was, being a hockey fan myself, there was like these random people throwing this rumor of this one player getting traded to this one team, and then someone from the one team was like, this is absolutely, I've never said this at all, or this one reporter is like that. So they're just throwing out these clickbait fake things, which, as we know, being a part of the IWC, like the clickbait is what gets views, the negativity. Oh, Jericho has a third arm growing. Yeah, let me click on it and see.
Click. Yeah,
but
I will say this though, like I think they did kind of. I wish they had managed the Camille Bodygard thing differently. She should have been a dominant persona, a dominant aura. That would have made her eventual turn on Mercedes much more powerful. The other side, though, I think a great thing that they could do to reset the women's division is after Revolution, and Serena D put this out there, after Revolution, when everybody's healed, everybody's good to go, I think, and not necessarily for a title, but I think they should do some kind of version of a women's Continental Classic. Now, it doesn't have to be for a Continental Classic belt. I think I love that, Courtney brought it up. I'd love to see tag titles come into play. I think that there definitely needs some TLC, but a great way to start some new feuds is a Continental Classic, because then you're going to get all these matches and you're going to get a lot of people. You're going to get a lot of new feuds stemming from that. And I think that's a way to really get the women's division going.
Yeah. I love a good tournament. Tournament gets you a lot of fresh eyes, some fun surprises and all that. I want to pull this picture up here, and it was someone posted it and put it together. And it's just sometimes you got to take a step back and realize, like, damn, the AEW roster is so stacked. And they put this collage of some of the screenshots of what we saw last night. And just like looking around, you're just like, wow. Like, and this isn't even everyone that was appeared on the show. And this is just a sliver of the roster. And I mean, just very, very incredible, essentially like a buffet, and you can have anything you want at the buffet because you have so many different styles and different things in this photo here. Love the Bandito promo. Can't wait for him to return. That's another one of those that's going to be a workhorse in the draft moving forward. But we got to talk about this match because I want to spend some time on it. Potentially TV match of the year. I mean, it's going to be fresh when we do our Dynamite Download Awards show. Yeah. But Will Osprey and Darby Allin, they were hyping it up, and it delivered 10 out of 10 in my opinion. The way the story was told, the way the back and forth was going, the way it ended. And I'm not surprised. Selfishly, I don't want Osprey to lose ever, just because I just love the guy, and I think he could be one of the few untouchables. However, given the circumstances of the tournament and given the circumstances of the direction of Darby's going, I support it, and I think it was the right decision to make. The way that this match ended, and man, the chemistry for this to be their first match ever, the chemistry between these two guys was off the charts. And man, I was like goosebumps on my arms watching this match because I was marking out, and it was just the back and forth, the constant action, the way they gelled together. And it wasn't like your typical Darby crash test dummy match. Yeah. It was essentially, yes, he had those reckless moments, but they were reckless for a reason. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Reckless for a reason is I can deal with that. I can do reckless for no reason. Like when he jumps off a ladder through a pane of glass, like that's just stupid. Like that doesn't add anything to the match. Like when he missed that coffin drop, like that added so much to the story. Like it made him more of an underdog there. And I think like this match, man, people need to go back and watch this and take notes. And in the back, I'm sure they were just marking out as well. And yes, great fish. I mean, I need the train horn. Choo choo. I've been back on the Darby Express for a while. There was a phase. It was a Darby roller coaster for me, but for a while I've been on the Darby Express train for what he's been doing. I love his passion, and I think he has controlled his recklessness to a little bit. And I love the way it ended because he did the Scorpion Death Drop. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if he's done that before in any of the matches, but it was very fitting. I think he did with Sting, a while back. But like they by himself, like not like when they both hit it, together. Like adding this into his moveset was awesome. But man, Will Osprey. I mean, having a match like this takes two to tango. You have to like people to match your level, to push you to the next level, and these guys pushed each other to put on one of the best matches we've seen in a while for free.
Match of the night, possibly match of the year. It's definitely in the top 5 this whole year, in my opinion. I think it'd be hard to argue against it. First of all, this is the Darby we needed to see. This is the Darby we need to see more often. This is the leveled up Darby. And this match exceeded my expectations. I was with you, BR. I was clapping. This was fantastic. This was, I hate this. I don't even say cinema. This was exactly what we needed to see. Both of these guys were getting their shit in with their stuff. It was a great dance partner between the two of them. And yes, I know it's the old Meltzer thing that there's two types of matches. There are 5-star matches, and then there's 5-star matches without Will Osprey, because Will Osprey usually does a 5-star match in every match that he's in. However, Will Osprey wasn't necessarily the only highlight in this thing. Granted, Will Osprey, we're kind of gotten to the point where we're expecting him to do these great things, but the highlight was Darby. Darby was not the crash test dummy anymore. We got to see an attribute of Darby that hasn't been showcased as much as it should. But as the old man in the black hat used to say, Darby's quicker than a hiccup. He's very smooth in a lot of the things that he does. He does that one thing where he kind of does a slide knee and he rolls, like he'll run to the rope, but instead of hitting the turnbuckle, he'll stop and do kind of like a slide knee and come back. He does a lot of smooth things. Plus, I also think that one of the things that Darby does well is when, there's one thing to sell an injury, but there's one thing to just lay there dead. And when he he didn't even hit the apron. He hit like the edge of the hardest part of the ring, allegedly, and he just laid there. And then the same thing when they did the Styles Clash off the edge when Will Osprey did.
Oh my gosh!
And Darby just dead. And they were even chanting, "You killed Darby."
Yeah,
it was that was incredible. That was part of the fun. But there was that sequence. And I remember I had to go find it on YouTube again to watch it again. And the comments are like, "Don't blink." It's like, don't blink, because it's just that, he tries to do a destroyer, but then Will Osprey flips here, then he flips there. And it's just the back and forth with this match was incredible. This is what we needed to see. And we need to see this more from Darby. This is what's putting Darby in that category of future champ, because he's not just the crash test dummy. He's not the guy we kind of really are. He's not the underdog as much. This is for this guy to not only go like he did toe-to-toe with Will Osprey, but also get the win over Will Osprey. This is what was needed. And I feel like this is what's going to propel Darby to championship down the line. And I thought it was, we could spend the rest of the show talking about this. I wouldn't mind, but there were other great matches. Will Osprey, everybody knows how we feel. But my goodness, this was a showcase for Darby, and this was a showcase for Will. And Will Osprey helped with that. This was Will Osprey letting Darby shine. I thought it was fantastic. Darby, excellent job. What a great match. Match of the year, top 5 for me.
It's so great that these guys put on such a great, this was definitely the highlight of the show for me. With this being such a great episode, I love the way the episode started, where they did the promos. So I didn't get to talk about that. Like the way that whole episode started, I loved that they set the stage for the night. They had different promos for different segments and different matches, and it's one of those captivating the first 2 to 3 or 4 minutes of getting those promos. I'm like, damn, I can't wait for that match. I can't wait for that match, because they set that promo. I like that style, and instead of the typical, it's Wednesday, you know what that means, and the fireworks and all that, which is cool. And then a match starts, like that's a great way, the crowd loves it. But at home, getting those early promos to set the stage for the whole night, I think that was a really smart way of doing that. I don't know whose idea that was, and I hope AEW leans into that a little bit more. But the Darby, man, like talking in the chat on Instagram too, it's earlier I was like, oh, Kenny Omega, Moxley, but now like Darby's been on that trajectory to be the guy of AEW, the heart and soul of AEW, to be the one to, whether it be dethrone Moxley or be the one to put the Death Riders out. So as much as I would love Kenny Omega to do that, I mean Kenny Omega or Darby, I think is a win-win for us all. But whew, man, that was a big match. big match feel. And like,
I got to ask Courtney in the chat, did you go to the show? Because, Jordan Blade Nyla was not on TV. Was that a Ring of Honor match that they had before? Because those are two Virginia wrestlers. Those are two. And, Nyla lives close to D.C., Jordan Blade, more Richmond area. But I would have loved to have seen that. But, Courtney, if you went to the show, you got to send Dynamite Download some pictures.
That's right.
We'd love to see that, and let us know in the chat. Let us know in the chat what you felt if you did go. She says, "No, I saw the video." Yeah, but very, very cool stuff. But I feel like, and I'm going to make a general statement before we move on. I feel like it's unfair to try to compare AEW to WWE because of the time and all that. AEW is going through growing pains, which all businesses do. And we talked to Marco Stunt, a great interview, and Marco made the comment. He says that it's evolved. The feel of the show is evolved. When it first started, it was brand new, and it felt brand new. It was a lot different. But now it's going through the growing pains. But they're learning from their mistakes and they're evolving. And I think that with some grace, we're think of where AEW is going to be in 5 years. I think it's, I think there's going to be some evolution. They're trying stuff. Like you said, the comments at the beginning, having the promos at the beginning, that stuff works. It's going to be interesting to see where they're heading going forward.
Great. Well said. And this photo is what I talked about. That's the way it started the show. Death Riders. Yeah. Then the three baby faces, Darby, Osprey, MJF. But before we move on, I want to do our DD3. This is because we're getting some good conversation going back and forth. And I know there's still some great matches on the card, but it can tie in a little bit to what we saw last night. But DD3, I came up with 3 quick questions, and we can spend as much time or as little time on each one of these as possible if we want. But the first one I want to bring up is for me to you. So my 3 questions to you. Now, is the Hurt Syndicate turning babyface?
I think they already are. Here's the thing. I think the Hurt Syndicate are in the same box as Moxley, where they can be heel and babyface. But if we want to talk about what went on with Ricochet real quick, I love that. It's so annoying, but I love it. Here's the thing: Ricochet's getting, and people are complaining about this online. I saw there were a lot of people. I thought that was great. I think Ricochet. This is a character that Ricochet hasn't been able to be, and it's making him 3-dimensional. I love that annoying. I had a student that I was teaching. He was very he annoyed the other students. I mean, and when I would call him out on stuff, he'd get all butthurt, but he had this laugh that annoyed, he would go like that. And when Ricochet's doing this laugh, it just annoys. It's great heel work. Ricochet going heel. He is heel. Ricochet is a heel now. I love this because it gives a dimension to Ricochet where we know Ricochet can do the Ricochet moves, the flippy do. So we know what he's capable of in the ring. But now he's also doing heel stuff like jiggling the rope, exposing the turnbuckle. He's doing the heel stuff that I think is great. And it's just going to elevate him as a character. I mean, it's fleshing him out. I think we're going to see the Hurt Syndicate involved in his upcoming match this weekend. I think there's what's that?
The Continental Classic, no interference.
I don't think it's going to happen right then, but I think aftermath there might be. And you never know. Just because they said it's in the rules doesn't mean they can't try to. But
I would love to see Ricochet pull a fast one on Osprey somehow.
Yep.
I don't want Osprey to take 2 losses in a row, but these are your questions that I'm
really all I was just going to say is.
But I love it because it's like the crowd, as you mentioned earlier in the show. The crowd can change so much. I go back to this frequently because of the Daniel Bryan, where the crowd hijacked him to get to the freaking main event and win the world title in WWE. It was one of the best things ever, the Yes Movement. However, like this last night was the first time we heard that new chant. Typical Chicago has those, new fresh chants, but DC showed up last night with the "We hurt people, we hurt people" chant, and loved it. And that's where I was like, I think we are getting baby faces out of the Hurt Syndicate naturally because of how good they are and how much we enjoy them on TV.
And here's the thing: if Ricochet does join the Hurt Syndicate, you could still cheer for Bobby Lashley MVP and Shelton and boo Ricochet, even if he's in there. Because and again, I want to point out what Steven said. I thought this was also noteworthy. You couldn't hear. Swerve even had to restart his backstage promo with Trevor, aka Ricochet, with Trevor, because the crowd was so loud. The crowd was so loud for Swerve. Who's up? And I love how Nana got in and was like, "Whose house?" He had to get in there with that. But the crowd was so loud. But again, that interaction with Swerve was again furthering the character development for Ricochet. I think this is exactly what Ricochet needed. Otherwise, it's like, Ricochet is like, we've got Will Osprey at home until this heel turn, and now he's a much more fleshed out character. I think this is going to be great. I think this is great for Ricochet. I think we're going to see a lot of cool stuff.
All right. D3 questions. Maybe these ones will be a little bit quicker, more like Fast Five style. Now, Ricky Stark's returning. Do you think he'll have a bigger reaction before he was gone or get a worse reaction when he's returned? Do you think he'll get booed or cheered? Do you think he'll get a good reaction? Because with Big Bill, he was getting some, they're a good team. But do you think he'll get a good pop or a fizzle pop?
Good pop, and I think what's going to happen is I think he's going to end up being paired with Anthony Bowens. I think Max Caster's going to turn on the Acclaimed, but I think Ricky Stark's going to get involved. I think he's going to get a pop because people miss him. And I think, it's one of those out of sight, out of mind things. Even if you haven't been paying attention to what's going on with GCW, which is strange because Matt Cardona is now involved with ROH and, there's other things going on with GCW and AEW. But so there's a lot of weird rumors that Effie messed something up, but I don't know if that's true. Dirt sheets again. But I think we're going to see Ricky return. Ricky may show up at World's End. But I think he's going to get a pop, and I think he
might show up tomorrow too.
Yep, I think he's going to get a loud pop.
All right, last question for my D3 from SPD. When are we seeing Wardlow?
Ooh, it won't be till next year. Wardlow could join the Death Riders.
I know we've talked heavily on that, and we've fantasy booked that, thinking it would be an awesome place to put him in. Because he does very strong with the group.
I say we don't see Wardlow until Revolution. I think putting him with the Death Riders I think he does better in a faction than solo.
Right. All right. Those D3 questions, and you never knew they were coming. You got mine?
Yeah, I got yours. So now, are they all booking, or they can be? There's 3 booking questions. Okay.
This is whatever you want. This is the mind runner to pull out the 3 questions that are on your mind.
Okay.
Hey, Santa Claus real.
Here we go. Will we see Christian Cage as world champion before he retires?
That's funny you say that, because that was going to be one of my questions, something like that, because of that. As funny as it may be, as much as I love him, and I would love him as a champion because he's just fantastic, I think he gets screwed over somehow, or he gets to be a champion for like a minute or something ridiculous. I think, and then just his reaction and his tirade that he goes on. So unfortunately, I'm going to say no, and that kind of affects the gimmick of his whole thing. Winning that big match. I believe it was at All In. But I think it'd be a really unique and funny booking for him to somehow lose that contract or lose the match, cash it in, then lose.
Second question. How do you book Powerhouse Hobbs?
Man, I love everything that he's been doing, and I just wish that this match was I didn't have this planned, but I did have this picture, or you didn't tell me a question, but I did have this picture kind of ready because I was hoping we had maybe a little time. But if anyone's going to dethrone Takeshita, given the landscape of what's going on, it's Hobbs.
Yeah,
and I know Takeshita is still fairly new champ with the international title, but Hobbs is championship material written all over him, through and through. And so I would love for him to do it, to dethrone him. However, I don't see it because Takeshita is just equally as good, if not better, with what he's been doing as well. So this match is definitely one of those sleeper matches on the card. I think that's going to deliver awesome stuff. But I hope after this, they kind of move on with that. And where I'd put Hobbs next, man, I would, that's a tough one because it's like you want to book Hobbs so strong against really bad heels, and he's doing that with the Don Callis family.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, maybe, I don't know. I really don't know where you go from here. I think they're going to build, they're still going to play out a few Don Callis feuds after this. Like if Fletcher becomes a Continental Champion, then maybe he'll challenge for that. But I don't want to see Hobbs picking up these losses here and there. So if he doesn't win versus Takeshita, then I would love to see him maybe align with Team AEW with the Death Riders.
I think that would be pretty cool. Final question. Starting now to next year, 2025's World's End, how do you book the tag team titles?
Okay, so the way I would go is Private Party will lose to House of Black combo. House of Black combo would lose to the Guns.
Okay.
The Guns would lose to, because the Guns would lose to the Outrunners.
All right. Yes.
Because how fun would it be, like the over the top Guns and the over top Outrunners? I think that feud would be funny, even if it's two baby faces going at it. Like I think like that chemistry would do that. And then to close out the year, FTR turning on the Outrunners.
FTR. Heel FTR.
I can see heel FTR at the end of next year. Like FTR is all babyface right now. Obviously, the Fight for the Fallen, feuding with Death Riders, and they have that relationship already established with the Outrunners. So for them to turn on the Outrunners at the end of the year would be awesome stuff. I think would be really fun. But yes, Crayfish in the chat here said tag titles are in rough shape, worse they've been in his opinion. And unfortunately, I have to agree. I think the Young Bucks did some good stuff with the tag team titles. However, they didn't have enough. They had some great matches. They didn't have enough defenses. Private Party winning was a pivotal moment in AEW, an awesome moment, feel good moment, but it's fell flat since. Why? I don't know. There could be something we don't know behind the scenes. Maybe one of them's nursing an injury. They don't want to, strip them of the titles. That could be something. But I think we saw a little glimpse of what we're seeing. But like Lio Rush and Action Andretti versus Private Party, like it's going to be a fun match, but that doesn't scream tag team title feud.
They at least came out, Lio Rush and Action Andretti at least came up in matching spike ball jackets.
Yeah,
but
those are funny.
They need a name. Like if Top Flight is Top Flight, Action Andretti, they mean the Renegade. Now the Renegades would be the Renegade Twins. They need some kind of name to kind of like make them a legit tag team. And when they had that tag team battle royal, which both we saw the Outrunners and MXM Collection get such a great pop, that was such a showcase of all the great tag teams we have. And then it's almost like, okay, we're not doing anything with them anymore. It's like, we need to definitely have more tag team action. And the Continental Classic, as much as I love it, we haven't really had tag team matches much on TV since the Continental Classic started, so it's kind of frustrating. I saw BR asked about the trio styles. That was going to be my other question, but that'd be a question, a DD3 for next time.
I think we've been all kind of, I mean, you and I kind of been teasing that. Like, I feel like that's the fight for the Fallen, is they're going to essentially challenge the Death Riders for a trios titles match.
Yeah.
I think FTR comes out and it's them, and then Copeland comes out as the surprise third guy, and then they're going to challenge the trios titles. Like, you haven't put these on the line. We haven't seen them, and blah, 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 blah. Then Death Rider comes out.
Yeah.
And then they challenge for the trios. You have the humongous pop for Adam Copeland, and then they win the trios titles, and then they bring life. They give them the shock of life that the trios titles needs, because to have the trios titles and the tag team titles kind of be so MIA is it's not a good look, even though we are spoiled with the Continental Classic tournament right now, because that has been the main focus on AEW television in the men's division, which has been a lot of fun. Now Fight for the Fallen, tournament's over, new champion, fresh start, first Dynamite of the new year. Have that happen, give them the trios. Perfect way to protect all three guys. Give us some awesome babyface top guys there. Out.
Love it. Love it. Great stuff, man. I like this DD3, man. I have to make an intro video for it. So we'll have to...
because it's like, we get to talk and we text throughout the week and throughout the day and all whatever it may be, but also at the same time, it's like, I want, something that I think about, I want to get your opinion, and I'll wait to do it on air. So it's like, I agree. These are some good chats. So much to talk about on Dynamite that we didn't hit it, but this was good because it was just the landscape of what's going on at AEW. Everyone in the chat, we had some great feedback and great comments. We love having you in the chat in there. Crayfish over here on Instagram thinks Wardlow might interfere on the Adam Cole MJF feud because of the ties there. I don't know. I think that would be I would be a bad opportunity. I think Wardlow should stay away from that feud altogether, given what's going on with that feud right now.
Somebody in the chat, can't remember if it was Steven or BR, somebody said something about they think that the Undisputed Kingdom are going to turn on Adam Cole.
I think so too, because that promo was a little bit. That promo was a little strange at the end.
Yep, I'm with Steven on this one. I think that's going to be what we're going to see, and I'm all for it. That's not to. That's just the one match that I'm just not feeling, and it's going to be interesting to see how they rekindle that. But yes, here we go.
Once again, we're going to show you the standings where we at as we start to wrap up season 4 of our draft. And I mean, heavy is the head that wears a crown. I mean, I think mathematically, I'm not throwing in the towel, obviously, but mathematically, I think you got it covered, mine. But it's still going to be a fun fight for the finish, fight for the fallen, as they say. But here's where we stand with the rankings for season 4. It's been fun. I can't wait to. One of my favorite shows that we do is the draft. I love the high intensity draft. You have your draft board. I got my sheets. I got my favorites and crossing them off. It's intense. It's fun, and I love that we had 9 teams that were participating because it's a lot of fun to do. So early January, we're going to be doing season 5. Stay tuned for the timing for that. And everyone have a great Christmas. We won't see you before Christmas, so we appreciate you all. Merry Christmas, everyone.
We will have like a Christmas recap show. Just it's going to be a replay of some cool stuff, and there might be some hidden gems in there too. You never know what might pop in there. But and then the first of the year we're going to do our awards, I think.
We should do an award show. We're going to have got to talk to you off air of timing if we can do a World's End preview show, which we obviously would love to do that.
Yep. And
just stay tuned for our channel, our Instagram and Twitter, and we'll see you soon, and have a great holiday week, everyone. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. There we go. I like that.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. All right. And we will see you soon.